Okay, let's unpack this, because I have to be honest with you and with everyone listening right now. When I first looked at this specific stack of documents, my immediate reaction was to roll my eyes. Hard.
I think that's the standard healthy reaction. We're looking at prophecies.
Yeah.
And usually when you hear that word, you think of, vague horoscopes. You will face a challenge this month or something like that.
Exactly. The kind of stuff that could apply to anyone, anywhere, at any time. It's that Barnum effect. Our
Yeah.
brains just, they fill in the gaps to make it fit. But then
Then you looked at the timestamps.
I actually opened the files. I started looking at the dates. I looked at the screenshots. And most importantly, I looked at the timestamps.
And that is where the skepticism just hits a brick wall. Because we aren't looking at metaphors or poetic riddles here. We are looking at a group called the Ecumenical Order of Christ, or EOC.
Right.
It's a small, pretty controversial church group, but they are documenting things years in advance that are, well, they're uncomfortably specific.
Uncomfortable is the perfect word for it. We are talking specific dates, specific names, specific biomechanics of an injury.
And specific magnitude numbers for earthquakes.
So the mission for this deep dive is to simply be forensic accountants for the timeline. We aren't here to tell you what to believe, religiously or otherwise.
Nope, we're not taking sides. We're just here to look at a collection of primary source documents, social media posts with uneditable timestamps, Torah code matrices, news reports, and see if the prediction matches the outcome.
We have 3 main case studies on the table today, and I think each one gets progressively stranger. We have a vision regarding Donald Trump documented in 2017.
We have a warning about a massive 8.5 magnitude earthquake in Japan.
And then we have this absolutely wild double event involving a birth and a meteorite in Australia.
And just to set the ground rules for you listening, our role is impartial. We're looking at the data and the sources. We have screenshots of Facebook posts from community members like L. Wise and the group's prime cleric, Richard Peter Ruff. We're going to compare those records against history.
So let's just stop talking around it and dive right into the one that I think grabs everyone's attention immediately. The Trump assassination attempt.
This is a really significant piece of the puzzle because of how visual it is. We were looking at a Facebook post by a woman named L. Wise. The date on the post is January 4th, 2017.
Okay, let's place ourselves in time. January 4th, 2017. This is before Trump's inauguration for his first term.
Right, and this is 7 years before the events of 2024.
7 years.
Correct. And in this post, she describes a vision she had the night before. She writes, "I saw him standing at a podium giving a speech."
Which sure is standard political stuff. If you predict a politician will be at a podium, you aren't exactly Nostradamus.
Of course. But then the details get incredibly granular.
Uh-huh.
She zooms in, she says, and I'm quoting the source here, "There was what looked like a flash to the left, and something hit his right cheek near his ear."
Hit his right cheek near his ear. That stops me cold. She doesn't say he was attacked. She doesn't say he was shot in the chest. She specifies the anatomy.
It's the biomechanics that are so striking. She notes that the impact tilted his head. Then she writes, "He put his hand up to hold his ear, his right ear."
I'm looking at the source image right now. It is eerie because that is the exact image the entire world saw in 2024. The hand to the ear. The confusion. But she goes on, right? She describes what happened next.
She does. She writes, "He then proceeded to fall sideways away from the podium, towards his left, and was in a half-fetal position on the floor."
The half-fetal position detail is just so specific. It's not a dramatic movie feint where they fall backwards.
No, it's a defensive curl.
Yes.
And she even sets the scene around him. She mentions he didn't move as people in suits were rushing toward his body.
And the clothing, I mean, she even describes what he was wearing. A black suit with a red and white striped tie.
What stands out to me in this account, from an analytical perspective, is what she explicitly says she didn't see.
Right.
She concludes the post by saying, "I didn't see a gunman, only saw the flash, and something hit Trump's arch cheek."
Which aligns perfectly with how the actual event played out. It wasn't some close-range standoff. It was a distant sniper. It was just a flash and an impact. And the fact that this is stamped January 4, 2017, I mean, that is really hard to explain away as a coincidence.
If you were guessing, you'd guess chest or head or maybe just an attack. To guess right ear, head tilt, fall left, and half-fetal position 7 years in advance. The odds are just astronomical.
But this vision isn't the only piece of the puzzle regarding Trump, is it? Because the EOC doesn't just rely on dreams. They use a completely different method to, like, cross-reference this stuff.
Right. They utilize what they call Torah codes.
For anyone listening who might not be familiar, can we briefly unpack what that is? We aren't talking about reading the text literally, are we?
No, not at all. This is based on the idea of equidistant letter sequencing. Imagine the entire Hebrew Torah is a giant grid of letters. They use software to search for words that appear at regular intervals, like every 50th letter.
So it's like a divine word search puzzle.
Effectively, yes. And the theory is that when you find a cluster of related words crossing each other in that grid, it forms a coded message.
Okay.
And looking at source image 2, we have a matrix posted by the group's leader, Richard Peter Ruff, on November 12, 2016.
Again, check the date. November 2016, just days after Trump won the election.
And the main search term here is not subtle at all. It is assassination Trump.
That is direct?
It is remarkably direct. And in that same matrix, crossing or near the main term, the code finder identified several supporting words: gunfire, poison, killing, and venom toxicant.
Gunfire. That connects right back to the LY's vision of the Flash.
It creates a synthesis. You have two different methodologies here. You have the visual data from the 2017 vision, the ear, the fall, the suits.
And you have the textual data from the 2016 code assassination, Gunfire.
And looking at the comments on that 2016 post, Richard Ruff isn't just posting this for fun. He seems to be trying to do something with it.
Yeah, he's urging his followers to share the code. He explicitly states, post it to as many of the Twitter and Facebook sites as possible, the better chance of him seeing it.
So in their view, this wasn't just a prediction of doom. It was an attempt to warn him.
They wanted to intervene.
That seems to be the intent. It creates a triangulated warning. You have the what, assassination by gunfire from the code,
Yeah.
and you have the how, the ear, the specific fall from the vision, both documented years before the event.
It definitely sets the stage for how this group operates. They seem to use these two methods to verify each other. But let's move to the second case, because this is where we shift from political violence to something on a planetary scale.
Natural disasters.
Right. And usually predicting natural disasters is the easiest way to fake being a psychic. There will be an earthquake in the Pacific Rim this year.
Well, yeah, the plates are always moving.
Exactly. But in this case, we aren't dealing with vague geography. We were dealing with a very specific number.
Let's look at the Savan 5775 prophecy.
Okay, walking through the documents here. We have a Torah code discovered on January 20th, 2015. The code covers the Hebrew month of Sivan in the year 55775.
Which, if we translate that to our calendar, covers the period of May 19th through June 17th, 2015. So they have a specific one-month window identified.
And the keywords in this matrix are pretty ominous. We see Ray Lear, noisemaker, boomquake, execute, and crushing.
Noisemaker, boom, quake. A clear theme of seismic activity. But the real kick comes from a Facebook post by Richard Ruff on May 20th, 2015.
This is the smoking gun document for me. He posts an image of recent earthquake alerts, smaller ones, magnitude 5.5, 6.0. And he writes a caption that is incredibly specific. He says, repent and acknowledge the Lord before the 5.8 becomes a 8.5.
Before the 5.8 becomes a 8.5, he puts a specific magnitude on the board.
And 8.5 is not just a random number.
No, it's massive. The Richter scale is logarithmic. The difference between a 5.8 and an 8.5 isn't just a few points. It is thousands of times more energy.
Right, 8.5 earthquakes are incredibly rare events globally.
So he posts this warning on May 20, 2015. What happened?
We turn to the Japan Today article from May 30, 2015, 10 days after that specific warning. The headline reads, M8.5 earthquake strikes near Ogasawara Islands.
It hit exactly 8.5, not 8.4, not 8.6.
It was an 8.5.
According to the Japan Meteorological Agency, yes. The U.S. Geological Survey initially had it a bit lower at 7.8, but the local Japanese data, the sensors actually in the country, confirmed it was an 8.5.
And reading the article, this was a monster quake. It says it struck at a depth of 590 kilometers. That is incredibly deep.
Well, that depth is key. An expert quoted in the article, Naoki Hirata from the University of Tokyo, says, since it was magnitude 8.5, this was a very big quake, but fortunately it was very deep. There is little danger of a tsunami.
But just because there was no tsunami doesn't mean it wasn't felt. The article mentions that both runways at Narita Airport were closed. Trains in Tokyo stopped.
Oh, yeah. There's a comment in the article from a user who said, this was a real roller, the floor felt like jelly. And another user commented that even though it was 560 kilometers down, it shook the entire nation.
So, Richard Ruff explicitly warns 5.8 becomes 8.5, and 10 days later, Japan is hit by an 8.5 that shakes the entire country.
It creates a problem for the skeptic. You can say he got lucky, but guessing 8.5 specifically.
Now, there is a discrepancy in the timing, right? The warning was posted on May 20th. The quake hit on the 30th.
True, there's that 10-day gap. But Richard Ruff actually addressed this in a follow-up post. He posted an image of a clock face.
Oh, this is the one where the hands are in a specific position.
Yes, he claims the quake occurred at the same time as 8.5 appears on the clock. It's an interesting interpretation of the delay, suggesting the timing was symbolic rather than literal to the day.
Right.
But he also reinforces the statistical improbability. He notes that in the last 100 years, an 8.5 quake had only been recorded 5 times previously.
So his argument is basically, I gave you a number that virtually never happens, and then it happened.
Precisely. From the EOC's perspective, the specificity of the number validates the prophecy, regardless of the 10-day gap.
It's intense. And that brings us to the third event. This one is, honestly, it feels like a movie script, the double event.
This is the most complex one to track because it involves linking two seemingly unrelated occurrences, a personal family event and a cosmic event, through a single Torah code.
Okay.
We're looking at a matrix titled Gift Took Lesson Truly 27th September 2016.
Okay, so unlike the earthquake, which had a window, we have a hard date here, September 27th, 2016.
Locked in. And the keywords in the code are a strange mix. We have mountain rail flame, ejection imparting annual, and a specific name.
Korin.
Koria, spelled K-O-R-R-I-N.
That is not a common spell.
No, it's unique. So the prediction is, on September 27, 2016, there will be an event involving Korin and an event involving a flame or ejection.
So let's look at what happened on that day. First, the personal event. This involves a member of their leadership, right? Archbishop Matt Stater.
Yes. A Facebook post confirms that on September 27, 2016, Matt Stater's baby was born.
And the baby's name. Okay. But here's the skeptic in me screaming, did they just name the baby Korin because of the code? That seems like the obvious loophole.
That is the first question I ask myself.
Yeah.
But Matt Stater comments directly on the post to address this. He says, and this name was decided on by my wife and myself approximately 2-3 months ago before this code had been searched.
So they claim the name was chosen privately months prior. Then the code is found with the date and the name.
And the baby arrives exactly on that date. He notes the baby was born 16 minutes after sundown at the very beginning of the 27th September 2016.
Right on the line. But the code wasn't just about a baby named Korin. It had those other words. Flame, ejection, mountain rail, flame.
Exactly. A baby isn't an ejection. This is where the double event comes in. At the same time this birth is being celebrated, news breaks in Australia. We have a link to the Courier Mail.
The headline is definitely not something you see every day.
It reports a massive meteor strike, a flame injection, as L. Wise calls it in the comments, hitting Queensland, Australia.
A blue light, a massive sonic boom. The article says police were flooded with calls.
And Richard Ruff connects the dots immediately. He posts, one code predicted 2 events. Amazing. The logic is that the Korin keyword linked to the birth and the flame and ejection keywords linked to the meteorite.
And they happen simultaneously.
According to the community discussion and the timestamps, yes. A member named Tsuyen comments, it came true. Amazing indeed. And notes the synchronization.
It's the combination that really gets me here. Predicting a baby's name and birth date is one thing statistically unlikely, but coincidences happen. Predicting a meteorite strike on a specific date is also wild.
But putting them together in one code,
Yeah.
it suggests a high degree of confidence in their methodology. They aren't looking for one event to fit the code. They're seeing a narrative unfold where the code encompasses multiple aspects of reality, personal, and cosmic happening at once.
So when we step back and look at these 3 distinct cases, we have the biomechanics of an assassination attempt on a future president,
The exact magnitude of a rare earthquake in Japan.
and a synchronized birth and meteor strike in Australia. It just raises huge questions about their sources.
Right. The EOC uses a combination of what they consider visions, like L. Wise's dream, and Torah codes, which they view as a mathematically encrypted message system.
And they seem to use them to verify each other.
Exactly. They triangulate. The vision gives the visual details, the code gives the keywords and dates.
What I find fascinating is the so what of it all. Why do they think this is happening? Well, when I read the comments, they aren't just saying, cool, we guessed it.
No, the tone is very much about chastisement and proof. In the earthquake commentary, they talk about the wrath of Lord Rael and teaching humanity a lesson.
So they view these predictions as validation of their whole theology. They believe this Lord Rael figure is the Messiah, and these accurate calls are the proof.
That is their internal logic. They believe the accuracy of the warning validates the authority of the source.
But even if we, as impartial observers, strip away the theology, even if we don't believe in their specific religious figures, we are still left with the timestamps.
That is the stubborn fact here. You cannot fake a Facebook timestamp from 2015 or 2017. The text 5.8 becomes a 8.5 was on the internet before the 8.5 earthquake happened.
And the description of the ear injury and the red tie was on the internet years before the assassination attempt. It completely disrupts the usual narrative of post-diction, where people claim they knew it would happen after the fact.
These are just sitting there in the public record, and that leads to a necessary impartial observation. Regardless of what you believe about the source of the information divine, coincidental, or something else, the documentation exists. The sequence is prediction, documentation, event.
It makes you wonder about the mechanism. If the Torah code is real, does it contain everything? And if visions are this accurate, why aren't they on the front page of every newspaper?
Well, that's the challenge of this kind of information, isn't it? It's often dismissed because of the messenger, a small church group. Mainstream analysis tends to filter that out. It's considered noise.
But in doing so, they miss these data points that are what statistically anomalous.
Statistically anomalous is a very polite way of saying freakishly accurate.
It is.
I mean, the probability of guessing an 8.5 magnitude quake within a 10-day window is microscopic. The probability of guessing the specific injury of a political figure years in advance is also incredibly low.
And doing it repeatedly.
Right. It's the pattern that matters. One lucky guess is a fluke. 3 highly specific documented hits suggest a methodology.
We've really only scratched the surface of what this group has published, but these 3 examples are the ones that really force you to stop and think.
They certainly challenge your understanding of causality and time. If the information is there, waiting to be found, it implies the future is not as unwritten as we might think.
That is a terrifying and thrilling thought.
It is. It suggests a deterministic universe where an assassination attempt or an earthquake is already on the schedule, so to speak.
So we've unpacked a vision of an assassination attempt that got the physics right, a warning of a massive earthquake that got the numbers right, and a dual prophecy that managed to sync a birth with a falling star. And all of it was sitting on a Facebook timeline while the rest of us scrolled past.
It really emphasizes the value of looking at primary sources. Don't just take someone's word for it. Check the date, check the edit history, check the outcome.
Absolutely. And I guess that leaves us with one final, slightly provocative thought for you listening right now. If these specific details, like the 8.5 magnitude or the hit to the ear, were sitting in public social media posts years in advance, what other warnings from this group might be sitting there right now waiting for the date to arrive?
That is the question. Are we scrolling past the next big headline today?
Something to mull over. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Always a pleasure.
Catch you next time.